insurance paperwork for you guys. And I have some business cards too, in case you guys need my contact information. But as we talked about at the last meeting last week, we wanted to look into some Ohio Public Entity Consortium options just to save the township a little bit of money for being part of that plan. I did come up with an option for you that's going to definitely save some money for the township that I'd like to go over with you guys. The first sheet in this little packet of information goes through and explains an option for the township. This first column is a column of the benefits that you currently have with Anthem. It has the major medical claims are your deductible at $0 and then 100% after that. The $10 copay for an office visit. Emergency room is $150, or daycare is $50, and then the prescription drug card too in that plan. So that's all that first column is. The second column is what I would suggest. It's also with Anthem. I think we discussed at the last meeting how all of the other carriers did not come back competitive. So it definitely makes most sense to stick with Anthem at this point. I would suggest moving to a plan, increase your deductible a little bit, or the major medical claim, which is the $2,000 and $4,000, and then the employer contribution or the township contribution would be the first $1,500 or the first $3,000. So this is very similar to the plan that you guys had liked that we discussed at the last meeting too. The only difference is it's a funding option that we do through OPEC. It's not a health reimbursement account. So it's very similar, and I've tried to make the benefits pretty similar to that option because I know that was something that you guys wanted to look at. Office visit copays, basically everything that you have for the benefits. I mean, anytime you go to a doctor's office, you're going to pay for the full visit. The first, $1,500 is paid by the township, and then after that, that employee is responsible for, or the trustee, or the clerk, whoever's on the plan, is responsible for the remaining $500. So really, it's set up pretty similar to that one option 17 that we discussed. However, it's going to be a little bit less expensive because we would, in our office, go ahead and do the funding portion for you. So it's definitely an option. This second column is basically the plan that you're buying from the health insurance company. And the third option is what the plan's going to look like to anybody that's on it. So, like I said, the first $1,500 for single or the first $3,000 for family is going to be funded by the township, and then the remaining would be the member's responsibility.
You say this is not an HRA?
No, it's not a true health reimbursement account. I talked with Eric Fox today. He called me and asked me a couple of questions about the account the health reimbursement account against the OPEC funding plan that I had explained to him. And because it's not a true health reimbursement account, actually a true health reimbursement account can pay for such benefits that aren't necessarily a part of the plan that you purchased from the insurance company. And because of that, that's why it's not typically allowed with public entities. So the township plan, or the OPEC funding option that I'm explaining to you guys, is something that the only thing that's going to be reimbursed, the only thing that's going to be funded by the township are the medical claims and the different parts of the health insurance part that I just showed you in the middle, that middle column. So that's really the biggest difference. Your rates are on the next sheet if you want to look at that. First, do you guys have any questions about that plan? It's basically very similar to that plan that we talked about last week.
You mean set number 17?
Yes. The benefits are very similar. It's just you would go through the OPEC funding option and we would take care of that for you guys. The rates are on the next sheet. The first column is what the township is currently paying before the renewal. The second column are the renewal rates. And then this third column would be the rates on that plan that we just discussed. So as you can see, it's almost about half of what you're currently paying.
That's a plan we're not, so we should take it.
It's not a true health reimbursement account, and because of that, it's okay to do something like the OPEC funding option.
I did talk to Eric today, and that's why he called you.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that
Mhm.
the
No,
plan that
he-
she was talking about was okay with Eric. He said it's fine, so.
He asked me a couple questions that, to make sure it was compliant with the Ohio Revised Code and everything, and because it is a part of OPEC, it's not gonna be an issue for the township to do
Because other
something like that.
townships throw in the same
Uh-huh.
option.
We do.
Well, with Eric, when this here, 17, we're not allowed on 17.
This here, plan here, with like prescriptions for that,
Mhm.
first $1,500 is covered by the insurance.
Exactly. Well, the first $1,500 is covered. You'd have to pay, like, for example, let's say you go to the doctor's office and you have a $100 office visit. That $100 could be reimbursed back from the township for that $100. Okay, so basically the first $1,500 that anybody's gonna be using is gonna be funded through our funding option, through OPEC. And then, once that portion has been met, after the $1,500 runs out for a single person, or I should keep saying 3,000 because everybody's on the plan with a spouse. The 3,000's been met for that person, then each member is on the hook for the remaining 1,000. So after that amount's been met, you're gonna be on the hook for, your full cost of your prescription and, of course, the full doctor's office visit. But, again, that's gonna be negotiated down by Anthem because you're gonna have the network discount too. So, does that answer your question?
So like if we go to the doctor's office, we get a
Yes.
prescription and say it comes to $250.
Mhm.
We pay the $250 and then the township would
All,
reimburse us.
well, for prescriptions, it's gonna work a little bit differently. Let's say there is, a major medical claim or, God forbid somebody needs some sort of surgery or something. What they would do is you'd get an explanation of benefits from Anthem that explains how much money, that procedure was. You would fax that into our office, and I have a form back here too that I included in there. You would fax it into our office, and then OPEC would go ahead and fund that part for you, your portion for it. So you'd get a check in the mail from OPEC for that portion. And then let's say you've already met the $3,000 for you and your wife, and then, you had to go pick up a prescription, and it did come to $250, you'd be on the hook for that, the remaining 250, remaining 1,000 for the group, for both of you. Does that make sense?
Well,
So
I've
it's-
got a copy of this, Mayor.
I'm not sure on that, but I give you a copy of the Eric's account. There it is. I actually think
So it's an extra step, basically, what it boils down to is, you have that one extra step, once you get the explanation of benefits, you go ahead and send it in for the check, to go ahead and pay for that major medical claim. So that's the biggest difference right there. Another thing, with that health reimbursement account, that option 17 that you guys talked about, I know we touched on this briefly, but there's that rollover period too. So after the first year, your exposure is gonna be increased for each person on the plan as well. So that's something that, you definitely wanna consider, if you were able to do the health reimbursement account for that one.
It doesn't look like the HRA is an option at all.